name's Arrow. I go by they, them pronouns. And, yeah, I have an update. I have my top surgery date. And I'm so ecstatic, and like, ah. And there's a lot of things. So, first of all, I'm going to talk about what happened since last time I did a top surgery update. So, basically, last time I was sending off all my letters, and I thought I had everything. First of all, I didn't read the letter properly. In that video, I explained that, I was like, oh, there's another secondary letter. Well, my trans doctor didn't say anything, so it should be fine. No, it wasn't. So, there's a couple things that happened. So, I waited for a couple months, and then I called, and then they said, because, like, I don't know, I thought it might take a while to get to Montreal, and I thought that they would call me when I got there, but they didn't, so I kind of kept putting it off. So then, after 2 months, I called back, and I said, like, what's happening? So, and they're like, oh, so we're gonna need a letter from your family doctor, and, a letter from, like, not a letter from your pharmacy, but, like, a list of medications from your pharmacy, and I was like, okay, so, oh my camera, stop moving, it's okay, stop moving, sorry if you have a little motion sickness, anyways, so yeah, so I was like, where was I? Oh yeah, so I got a letter okay, so I went to my pharmacy and I got the list of medications, which currently from, like, pharmaceutical stuff, I'm only on testosterone, so it was fine. The pharmacy was like, the pharmacist was like, yeah, it's just the one medication. And I was like, yeah, I just need the letter. Anyway, so then I went, and I was, like, so nervous about going to my family doctor because of all the stuff that's happened in previous updates around this. So I was like, oh. But she was like, what do you need? Explain it to me. And so I did. And she's like, you could tell she really didn't understand what was happening. She really wasn't in her territory. But, yeah. But yeah, she, like, gave me a letter, and easy peasy. I was expecting to have to wait for it, but she just wrote it in front of me. It wasn't very comprehensive, though. It was very vague, but whatever. She gave it to me. I didn't have to pay for it or anything. And yeah, and she, like, printed it off, signed it. And then I went and I called back Montreal, like, GRS Montreal, and I was like, yo, I got the stuff, and they're like, okay, fax it to us. So I tried faxing it to them, and it didn't work. So then I was like, great. So the faxes, I was able to, like, get a fax from my phone instead, and then just, like, email them that instead, because the faxing from, like, the fax machine I had access to, like, at my school was the one I was using, and it wasn't working. So I did that, and then they're like, okay, we'll let you know. And I was like, so, okay. And I waited, and then I waited. And I sent that off in November. So then, like, in the end of January, they called me, and I was like, ooh, yay, I'm out of my date. And then they're like, or, like, I might know if I'm approved or not. And they're like, okay, so we're going to need another thing. We want a letter from, you have a letter from your family doctor. You have, like, a social worker you could get a letter from. And one of the people who I'd seen for a long time, for, like, counseling, was a social worker, and had, like, a social working degree. So, like, she's like, yeah, I'll do it. Then she, like, finished it within, like, a day, and then, like, sent it, and ran it by me, and then sent it, and I was like, nice, yes. Basically, then she needed to add something. They sent an email back to her a couple days after, saying that she needed to add something, and the letter was just outlining stuff from the WPATH standards of care, and saying that, like, I had done that, I met the criteria. Anyways, what happened was, on that phone call and in that email, she has said, like, oh, I'll let you know if you're approved in the next few days. And then also I asked on that phone call, like, when I would have my date, and she said, oh, that's someone else's, that's what someone else does. I can't tell you for sure when that'll happen, but it should be in not too many weeks. And I was like, what does that mean? So, but I was, like, too nervous to call her back and ask, because I don't like phone calls. So, I was, like, waiting, and waiting and waiting and waiting. And I waited, like, 3 weeks. And then I was like, okay, this is more than a few days. And so I finally was like, okay, fine, I'll call. So I called, and she's like, oh, yeah, you've been approved. And I was like, oh, okay, would have been nice to know, but thank you, that's wonderful news. And then, like, I was never salty on the phone. I haven't really been salty in any of these interactions. I've always been super friendly. I think because I'm just, like, afraid to not seem super friendly, but, like, afterwards I'm like... I waited, like, a little longer. I think it was, like, a week-ish after that. Like, maybe, like, a week and a half. Not too long, though, and then I got my date. So I can tell you when that was. So I got my date last Wednesday. And then they called, and I was in math class, and I was like, oh, got an important call, gotta go. And so then I left math class, and because I'm in data management, and I went out into the hallway, and I was, like, talking to the person on the phone, and they're like, okay, I have your top surgery date. And I was like, oh. So she said, okay, so I need to know right now if you can do this. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do that, because, you know, my mom's taking care of me, so I need to figure that out. And she's like, April 4th. And I was like, I have no idea. So she's like, okay. So we close in like 20 minutes. So, yeah. But, so April 4th. And I was so surprised because that seemed so soon. Because I really had no idea when they were going to book it. I really didn't have even just like a rough guess. I thought it could be like anywhere between 2 months and like 6 months. Like, I had no idea. Because I didn't know, because they said like the process takes 6 months, but like, did that include all of the thing to get approval too? Like, apparently not. So, I mean, no, apparently it did. Yeah, include that. It's the beginning of March, and they're booking for April, so that was so exciting. But then they're like, yeah. So I was like, I don't think I can do that. And she's like, okay, so let's book it for the next available date, which was March 18th. And I was like, okay. So then I called my mom immediately after that, and she was like, I'm on vacation. And so I'm like, oh, okay, great. So because she's leaving on vacation from like the 16th to the 22nd or something, like, I think that, so of April. And so she wasn't going to be around, and I need her care. So I was like, that sucked a lot. So the clinic, like, was closing, so I had to call back the next day. And so I called them back the next day, and I said, like, oh, you know, it's not gonna work, my mom's on vacation. So she was like, okay, so, no, the 24th won't work. I'm like, no, how about, is there anything in May? And she said, we could do May 2nd. And I said, well, maybe anything a little bit later. And I hated that because I want surgery as soon as possible, obviously, but, like, my mom, because she took time off, she'll need someone else to cover her, and, like, she'll need to catch up on work for a little while too before she can take more time off, and I understand that. So yeah, so anyways, so my date ended up being booked for May 16th. So that's my date, and I'm so excited. And I was nervous too about school, because I'm in my grade 12 year, so exams are in the end of June, and I'm like, But I contacted my trans doctor to see if I could get a note exempting me from exams, because, like, my guidance counselor, I was like, how do I do this? And she was like, that's what you can do. And I was like, cool. And then so my trans doctor was like, I'll do that for you. And then I got a call yesterday saying, yes, it'll work. We have it done. And I was like, nice. You can pick it up whenever you want. I'm like, cool. So I am exempt from exams, which is cool. And Yeah. So, May 16th is my date. And originally when I found out my date, I was like so excited. And then I was kind of disappointed because I had to bring it back again. I was like, ugh, this again. Like, I'm so close. But like, just because I've gone through so much to get here. And I think then I started feeling things around, like, because not all the emotions around my date were super positive. And it was weird because everyone, like, was expecting them to be. But, like, it's so much more complicated than that. Like, I felt so excited and but I didn't feel the relief because it hasn't happened yet. And I also felt a little bit of resentment, and anger and like frustration because this has to happen and I wish that it didn't. Like, I wish I could just not have to suffer with dysphoria or not have to have surgery. And also accompanied with that is fear because I've never had surgery. I've never been under anesthetic and that's scary. And also it's going to be painful. So that, and also just like, you know, I want to, it hasn't happened yet. You know, I still feel like anxiety of it hasn't like happened because, you know, something could go wrong and I don't feel like I can relax or breathe yet because it hasn't happened yet. Like, it could be longer because things keep being like, oh, this is gonna happen, and then nope, this is, you know, that's my whole experience with top surgery. So I'm really gonna be like, in my brain, I'm just telling myself that it's not the way it's gonna be, but feel that anyways. But also I'm excited, and also I'm so glad to finally have my date, and it's just starting to feel a lot more real. And I think the reason why those feelings started to come up too is because it feels a lot more real, and I've just been so focused on getting my date that I haven't really, for so long. In the beginning a lot I thought about the actual surgery and everything around it, but like then I kind of stopped thinking about that and thinking, how do I get there? And now I've gone back to thinking, yeah, this is actually happening. It's real. All of these things are going to actually happen, and it's a lot. It's a lot of change, but I am excited, and yeah. So I have my date. Woot woot. Um, yeah. Anyways, that is it. May 16th. Yeah. So have a fantastic day. Bye.